Namaste dosto, I've ridden my Himalayan now for 2,000 kilometers, so it's time for a review. And I was gonna review the Himalayan in the Himalayas, like that only felt right to me, right? Like if you have a Honda Africa Twin, ideally you should review it in Africa, nah? Anyway, I went to the Himalayas and then literally a couple of days later, lockdown happened and I couldn't get out to film the review. So you're gonna have to settle for a made in India bike with the review filmed here in India. That's the best I can do. And I'll tell you everything about this bike, okay? What I like, my servicing nightmares, what I hate, the problems I've had with it. I tell you everything you need to know about buying this bike because I've owned it now for 2,000 kilometers and I've actually ridden Himalayans for about 15,000 kilometers all across India, okay? But first, before we get into the review, because we're not in the Himalayas, I'll give you a little bonus. Come with me because we need to get the 2,000 kilometer service done. So I'll take you and I'll show you what a Royal Enfield service looks like here in India, how much it costs, and we'll quickly go and do that. Then we'll get stuck into the review here back at home. So as you guys can see, I have not touched this bike in about 2 months. There's spiders on it, there's bird poo, yuck. And I don't know if it's gonna start, so let's find out. Oh God, look at the seat. And it's also 40 degrees today. I've got Hindi classes in the morning, so that's why I can't do it in the morning when it's colder. All right, let's get the hell on this. Oh, it feels good to be back in the saddle. Will it start now? Yep. Beautiful, beautiful. That's 2 months without starting it because I had Corona. Let's get to that service station. Now I've got to remember my way to the service station. Royal Enfield have their own service stations here in India, so you get it serviced direct from the manufacturer, which is really cool. These guys don't even look, eh? Oh yeah, that's why you need an adventure tourer in India. When the road stops, you need a bike to get through them. And here we go. This is Royal Enfield on the left here. Put my bike out the front here. They'll come and bring it inside. All right, let's go inside and hand over the bike. So this is what it looks like inside. Pretty nice. Hey bro. Service at 1:30. It's my... कुछ भी बात कर लेना, हिंदी इंग्लिश कुछ भी, ठीक है? हाँ. चाय है? चाय. हाँ, एक चाय दीजिए. चाय बनाओ यार. Hello. All the different bikes lined up. It's really clean. And this guy is the very guy who serviced my motorbike as well. He actually built my motorbike, I mean, and he'll probably do the service on it as well. Pretty cool, eh? And just wait until you hear the price of servicing. TKG? Hello, go to the waiting room. All right, so now I'm here waiting for my bike to get serviced, and I'm sitting here in the Royal Enfield Customer Lounge, and there's AC. And so as far as getting your bike serviced, this is such a nice experience, no? They'll bring you water, they'll bring you masala chai as well, and you can just relax here for, I guess it would take maybe an hour, 30 minutes to an hour. All right, the bike is looking beautiful now, guys. Check it out, fully serviced. They didn't change the oil, it didn't need new oil. And guess how much this cost? Just 377 rupees. Basically $5 American. I know you guys won't believe that, but maintenance and servicing is extremely cheap here in India. And the other cool thing I saw in there was they're taking safety and social distancing really, really seriously. There was literally a guy walking around sanitizing all the surfaces with disinfectant spray, and everyone was taking it really seriously. It's really good to see. So yeah, I feel really safe and confident going to the service center. And so let's go home. I'll give you the ownership review of what I think of this bike, and I'll talk a little bit more about my other servicing experiences around India, because some of them haven't been so good. So chalo, hum ghar wapas jayenge na. right, dosto, let me tell you what I like about this bike, what upgrades I've made, how the servicing has been in the past, and what I hate about the bike, what they've got wrong on this bike. Now, let's start with what I like. And if you've seen the video where I go and buy this bike in the store here in Delhi, that'll tell you why I brought this bike and why I like this bike. But let's quickly go over it again. So the suspension system and the tires are great. You've got the big rims, the spoked forks, and this big suspension setup at the front. It is really, really good for soaking up the bumps here in India. I like the headlight, I like the windscreen shoots the air above your head. My last bike, Kawasaki Versys 650, did not do that. I like the instrument cluster. You get a compass too, which I find really, really handy. I like the ABS brakes. I don't have a desire to turn them off. I'm not an advanced off-road rider. I'm a knob. This bike is to get me from A to B and make sure I have fun along the way, so I like having ABS there. I can't turn it off on this model. This is BS4, but on the BS6 you can turn it off now, okay? So that's good. Storage options. You can tie anything onto the back of this bike. I have fit so much on it. You don't actually need these panniers because you just need a couple of cables and you can connect anything onto the back here. All your luggage can go on the back. But panniers are a good option, which I'll talk about soon. And heating issues. There's no heating issues. I've ridden this bike, like I said, 15,000 kilometers, no heating issues, and I find it reliable, practical, and a comfortable bike to take, extremely practical. This bike takes me anywhere in India, and it allows me to have a great time and a comfortable time doing it. Nah? What more could I want from a motorcycle than that? Absolutely nothing. One thing here in India that everybody talks about is vibrations. Does a bike vibrate at high speeds? And this bike doesn't. This bike is fine at I'm usually cruising at 80 or 90. I tend not to go higher than that on the motorways because it's just not safe here in India. So at 80 and 90, I've got no uncomfortable vibrations. Everything is good. Once you get past 100, it's gonna start vibing a bit. Once you get to the top speed around 125, you know you shouldn't be there because the engine is it's really vibey, it's struggling. So yeah, I don't go over 90 anyway to stay safe. My Kawasaki Versys back home in New Zealand, 650, that had more vibrations than this bike. Whenever I'd ride my Kawasaki, there was massive vibrations through the foot pegs and my feet would come off feeling like they've had this 1 hour massage and I couldn't walk properly. So yeah, this bike definitely has less vibrations than my Kawasaki 650. I'm gonna get rid of that bike once I get back to New Zealand. I'll probably take a small Ninja or something just to scoot around on when I'm back in New Zealand, like a Ninja 300 or something. Now this bike gives me about 23 to 25 kilometers per liter. 1 liter of petrol here in India, if you're interested, it's around 80 to 90 rupees a liter. It's about $1.10 American a liter. So that 80 rupee a liter, it has a ton of taxes on it and it's still much cheaper than New Zealand. Let's quickly go into the upgrades that I've done here. Then we'll talk about the bad stuff on this bike. So you've got to get the hand guards. They are definitely worth it. They're not bark busters quality, but for how little they cost, they are great. You have to get the touring seat, okay? The original seat on this bike absolutely sucks. With this touring seat, I don't get a sore ass after riding for 7 hours, okay? After 1.5 to 2 hours on the standard seat, I get a sore butt. So you have to take the touring seat. That's the #1 upgrade for this bike, I think. And the panniers. The panniers are great, but there's one problem with them. They leak. And it's because when you close them, there's so much tension on closing them that they don't seal properly. They kind of go up a bit and water can seep in. So if it rains, water will get in there. I don't know how it gets in there, but it gets in there, okay? And I've also got this Bobo USB 3.0 Qualcomm charging unit. This is a bit more expensive than the normal ones, but it's worth it. You want fast charging. So yeah, I really like this Bobo. It's been working really, really well on all my trips. And it holds the cell phone really, really well. Really strong kind of clamp on it. And these upgrades, I just did these because they're perfect for touring. They're perfect for a long ride, okay? The handguards will keep the bugs off your hands. The seat will keep your ass nice and cushy. And the panniers will allow you to carry a bunch of stuff and keep them somewhat dry, somewhat dry. Now we're gonna get into the bad side, okay? And I'm gonna prefix this by saying this bike is a 1.8 lakh bike, 2,400 American dollars. My first bike, a Suzuki GN250, cost me $1,500. My second bike, a Kawasaki Versys 650, cost me $8,000. This is just $2,400. It's nothing. So what do you expect for that price? It is not going to be perfect. It is not going to be made of the best materials. They are going to cut corners on some things because the Indian market is so price sensitive, okay? If they made a high quality Himalayan, I would take that. If it just cost like another lakh more or something, maybe that will be the 650 Himalayan when they make that. But don't expect perfection for that price. That is what I'm saying, okay? There's a saying, you get what you pay for, and that is in India is just so true. If you buy something cheap, expect everything not to be perfect, and that's been my experience with the Himalayan. But honestly, for the price, the value is absolutely incredible when you buy this bike here in India. Now, what I don't like about this Himalayan, well, it rusts. The chain has rusted within like 6 months of owning. It just starts rusting the second you buy it. The panniers are rusting as well. Everything is just rusting on the bike. It sucks. I'd rather pay more and have a rust-resistant bike. That's a downside. So look after your bike and always oil the chain and just do what you can to stop that rust from coming. During my ownership, only one thing broke, and that was the gear indicator. So I took it to Royal Enfield and they fixed it straight away. Obviously, I don't like the seat, like I said. Both these mirrors, if you're a taller guy, they need an extender because these mirrors don't kind of turn enough for you to be able to see behind you. You're just staring at your pecs. Now, the compass can be unreliable, okay? Sometimes it takes 10 minutes for it to do whatever it needs to do to tell you where you're going. Or sometimes it just shows like an error sign. The clutch pull on this bike is really hard, really hard. It's not like soft and light. I like a light clutch pull. And so what it's gonna do is make your hand really sore, but your hand will get stronger from it. So, I don't know. I just wish it was lighter, okay? Besides the bike rusting, the worst thing is the brakes. The front and back brakes have absolutely no bite to them. They're really the weakest thing on this bike, and to me, brakes is the most important thing, right? I'm not a speed demon. This bike isn't for speed demons, it's for people who want to have an adventure and to travel. But I want good brakes. I need good brakes here in India because the thing is, you're always jamming on the brakes when some crazy driver comes in front of you, or a cow comes out on the road, or the worst and the scariest, when a dog quickly runs across the road and you're doing or the motorway, when you're doing like 90 kilometers an hour. That is so scary because sometimes they just stop and you're not sure if they're going to move or not, and you just got to jam the brakes on and just slow down as much as you can. So yeah, no bite in the front or the rear. So what you should do is you should learn how to emergency brake, okay? From what I remember, put 70% of the force on the front brake and 30% of the force on the rear brake, okay? So they kind of front and back brakes are working together to slow you down. That's the most effective way to stop. Now let's talk about servicing. I've had a bad time when I've got it serviced outside of Delhi, all right? The first 500 kilometers I did on this bike after I brought it were shockingly bad. Oh my God, I wondered what I had brought. Why didn't this bike feel like the other Himalayans that I have ridden before? What's happened here? The brakes were really useless, and the gearbox was really stiff. Like the whole bike just felt horrible to ride. Like they hadn't lubricated it or something before giving it to me. But after the first 500 kilometer service, that all came right, and now the bike is perfect. It's nice and smooth now. It's how it should be. So that got fixed at the first service, thank God. I don't know if it's meant to be like that or not. If it is, let me know in the comments, because there is a break-in period, as you call it. And I got my first service in Rishikesh in Uttarakhand. Probably a bad idea. I should have gone to my local guy who knows me, service center here, but I didn't because I was in Rishikesh. So they didn't tighten the swing arm properly, and they lost my swing arm cap, okay? So when I drove out of there and I was riding, I think I was going to Haridwar or somewhere, and my bike was like going up and down, and it was making this really loud squeaking sound. This really uncomfortable squeaking sound, and it's because the swing arm wasn't tightened properly. Imagine if that had to come apart. Oh my God. So I went to the nearest Royal Enfield service center, and the good thing about Royal Enfield is there's service centers absolutely everywhere. So I found one on the way to Haridwar. I stopped there and they fixed it, and my swing arm cap was gone. But today they have replaced the swing arm cap in my service, so thank God for that. I told them, I don't like when bits fall off and they're not there again, because so much dust and stuff got in that swing arm part, but it doesn't really matter, but they should replace the cap if it gets lost. And they did, so good. And also, the Rishikesh service center came to get my bike, and these guys, two of them are fighting downstairs, and the other two guys are trying to stop these two guys from fighting. These guys are so angry at each other. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't a good experience at the Rishikesh service center, but the Delhi service center that I took you to today, it's always good there, always a good experience. And the guy who owns the store that I brought the bike from, he owns that service center as well, which is a pretty cool thing, no? Owning both and making sure the quality is good on both. So as you can tell, I actually really like this bike. I also love that it's made in India. The company is Indian based and the bikes are made in India. Okay, so that was really important to me when I went and brought this bike as well. It's a good bike, it's a reliable bike, it's a cost-effective bike, and it takes me everywhere I want to go in India. What more could I want from a bike? I love adventure bikes. But I would not buy this bike overseas, okay? You have better options overseas for the price. This bike is 2 or 3 times the price overseas, Hannah. For that price, you can buy a second-hand bike. The second-hand market overseas is fantastic. I've always brought second-hand bikes. So for the price of this bike, you could get a KLR 650. You could get a Versys 650, second-hand of course, but there's nothing wrong with second-hand bikes. So I will probably go for a Kawasaki or a Honda or something over getting this. Rather than buying this brand new, get a second-hand bike. That's my advice. That's what I've always done in New Zealand. Okay, that's my review. How did you guys like it? Let me know. Are you going to buy a Himalayan? Let me know in the comments. Jai Hind.